Colossians 2:14. Having wiped out the handwriting of requirements that was against us. Now, there's two things I want you to remember. Handwriting, can you please say that? Handwriting of requirements that was against us. Can you please say against us? I want it to stand out in your mind because we're going to read it. It's very important because he's talking about something was wiped out, taking it out of the way, nailing it to the cross. The terms are pretty clear. Wiped out of the way, nailed to the cross, something's going away. What is going away? Well, he said it's handwriting against us. Let's find out what he's talking about here. Having nailed it to the cross. If you look in Nehemiah, now here's what here's my hypothesis I'm going to give you on that. He's not talking about the Ten Commandments, as some have suggested. He's talking about the ceremonial laws. There's a difference between the Ten Commandments and the ceremonial laws. If you look, for instance, in Deuteronomy 4, I'm going to go to Deuteronomy 4 first. So he declared to you his covenant that he commanded you to perform the 10 commandments, and he wrote them on 2 tables of stone. And, 3-letter word I'm stretching out there, the Lord commanded me, Moses is speaking at that time, to teach you statutes and judgments. So you got the 10 commandments, and the Lord told me to write down for you statutes and judgments. They're written by Moses. Who wrote the 10 commandments? God. By hand. Handwriting. There you have it. Nehemiah 9:13 and 14. You came down also on Mount Sinai, and you spoke with them from heaven, and you gave them just ordinances and true laws, good statutes and commandments. You made known to them your holy Sabbath. Okay, so that's all part of the 10 Commandments. And commanded them precepts and statutes and laws by the hand. By the what? Hand is what you use for handwriting. Of Moses, your servant. So you got the law written by God's finger on stone, and you got the things by the hand of Moses. Let me give you one more. Now someone's going to read from me Deuteronomy 31:26 in a minute, okay? 2 Chronicles, this is very important. 2 Chronicles 33 verse 8. And I will not again remove the foot of Israel from the land that I have appointed for your fathers, only if they're careful to do all that I commanded them according to the whole law and the statutes and ordinances by the hand of Moses. Now I've given you 3 verses. The Bible says in the mouth of 3 witnesses at least that these things should be established, where he makes a distinction. 10 commandments and by the hand of Moses. I just read that. So, what about the word against us? Please read for me Deuteronomy 31:26.
Take this book of the law and put it beside the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God, that it may be there as a witness against you.
A witness what? Against you. So what was the witness against them? The 10 Commandments in the ark or the book of ceremonial laws that were put in a pocket or compartment outside the ark? So there's a distinction God made. One is handwriting of Moses outside the ark. 10 Commandments written by God inside the ark. What's inside the ark is holy. It is eternal. It's stone. The other was paper written by the hand of man, taking it out of the way, wiping it out, nailing it to the cross. There's a difference between the ceremonial law and the 10 Commandments. This difference the Romans did not understand. Paul needed to explain to them what they needed to keep and what they no longer needed to keep. Now, with that lengthy introduction, I want to read the rest of Colossians 2. Go back to Colossians, please. You'll be glad you did. Go to Colossians 2, verse 15. I'm going to reread verse 14. Having wiped out the handwriting of requirements that was against us, which was contrary to us. Notice, against and contrary to us. What does that mean? I'll tell you later. Taking it out of the way, nailing it to the cross. And then you keep reading in Colossians verse 15, 2:15. Having disarmed principalities and powers, he made a public spectacle of them, triumphing over them in it. So let no one judge you in food or in drink or in regard to festivals. Now when he says food or drink, he's talking about ceremonial food and drink offerings. Not talking about you could eat anything. Because Paul was pretty clear, you can't eat anything. Let no one judge you in food and drink or regard to a festival. They had food and drink offerings with the festivals, or new moons, or Sabbaths. Any Sabbath? Sabbaths which are shadows. 10 Commandments Sabbath was not a shadow. It came at creation. Ceremonial Sabbaths were shadows of the gospel. They were part of the feast days, which are shadows of things to come. They were shadows forward, looking forward to something that was going to come. Jesus. You still with me? But the substance is of Christ. Christ is not the shadow. He is the substance that creates the shadow. So Paul is saying, don't let anyone judge you about keeping. Now, do some people still go around and say, you got to keep the feast days? I mean, they have the same problem then we still have today. And he says those things were taken out of the way. They're handwriting, nailed to the cross. That's why Paul says in Romans 14, one man regards one day above another. Another man regards every day alike. If you're going to regard the day to the Lord, you regard it. He never mentions Sabbath in Romans 14. He's talking about the ceremonial disputes. Look in Leviticus 23. There's like 6 or 7 ceremonial Sabbaths. And he specifies the seventh day of the week commandment separately.